everybody, Justin Worden, and you're watching What's New in Electronics. We have a panel of experts here on the floor of IPC Apex 2025 in Anaheim, California, and we're going to be talking about high mix, low volume manufacturing. You guys ready for that?
Yep.
All right, so let's jump right in. The first question is, how do you differentiate yourself from that high volume manufacturing?
So, my name is Castner. I'm here with Flash PCB, and the differentiator for us is we turn quotes instantly for our customers through our online portal. So we have a self-serve portal where you can upload a CAD file. We'll do DFM checks for you right there. We'll help you build a bill of materials that's very purchasable right there. And then within a few minutes after you finish designing your board, you're gonna have a quote to get it manufactured. And then we turn boards very, very fast. So we offer 5 and 10 business days for 4-layer boards. So you can get your 4-layer assembled PCB shipped to you within the same week.
Very nice.
Jay Patel from Amtech. We're outside of Detroit. The one thing that we do differently and differentiates ourselves from high volume is that the data packages and design may not be perfected for supply chain resiliency and manufacturability. So when we get the product in, we're having to deal with challenges for the first time of, okay, do we have the right part spec in this? Are they available in the supply chain? Have we designed this to be manufacturable? Is the documentation proper or not? So when we get the first iteration of the high mix environment or prototypes, we really do a deep dive of DFM to make sure that the program has a foundation to be successful now and in the future.
Jeff Schartiger from RBB, Northeast Ohio. I would say what makes us different is really the customer aspect. I think it's all about taking care of the customer. Getting them what they need when they need it. Sometimes with those bigger companies, you can be treated like a number. So we really focus on solving the customer problems.
Well, that was your opportunity to brag about yourselves, and you all did a wonderful job. But now let's go a little bit more humble. We'll go in reverse order. What are some of the challenges you guys are facing in this space?
Well, some of the challenges, definitely supply chain, things like that. And customer demand. When they do want it, they want it now, right? So you have to kind of scramble to try to fit it in your schedule or things like that. So that's always a challenge for us.
Yeah, some of the challenges we face is the ability to, like Jeff was saying, to react to the customer demands and customer requirements, and that doesn't come just from hey, I need an email, I get an email from a customer, I need this today, or a phone call. It's more about creating the infrastructure and culture to be able to, and equipment mix, to be able to react quickly to customer demands and changes, and whatever they may be. So really building that culture to be able to change directions on demand and be able to react to what the customer demands are. I think that's a little bit more difficult. Everybody in every equipment is always designed for high volume because that's where the money is. But when you have to design the equipment and the processes and the team for a more of a high mix, low volume environment, the game changes just a little bit.
Yeah, and with the low volume stuff, for us, the biggest impact that we see in terms of it's like your setup cost is now sort of the most significant cost that you face. So setup not only in terms of actually getting on the machines, but also going through the quoting process. And so for our customers, one thing we see is how do we shorten that and how do we make it, because typically the parts that make it take a long time are also expensive. It's the people that are doing it. And so for us, the challenge that we see is how do we cut down that setup time, that quoting process, get as many people out of the process as possible, and so they can get onto the machines as quickly as possible. For us, the throughput isn't the key variable in terms of cost as it is if you're going to do a 1 million piece run. For us, it's how fast can we actually get onto our machine, can we get set up, and then all the little challenges that come with running a board. Typically these are prototype orders, so customers running for this for the first time.
Yeah.
So, all the little tweaks that they might have. They might have a component that doesn't fit a footprint. They might have a board that kind of is tough to hold or tough to run through your line. And how do we get through that sort of without racking up a huge bill in terms of engineering hours on setup and quoting?
So I think we were talking last night, and I think one thing I wanted to share with and you haven't mentioned it, would like to mention it for you, they've actually developed software that is DFM analysis that compares the component to the pad prior to hitting the production floor.
Come on, man. That's the next question.
Which is phenomenal. I think that is something that you guys, a pain point that, especially in the small medium world, you guys have done a great job at developing.
Yeah, and typically for a small run, in the prototype world, like this actual specifics of I want exactly this, say a Panasonic ERJ resistor, and I want exactly this one. It's not as critical in some applications because it gets everything. But and so how do we get customers into a part that we can purchase now, or maybe we have on our shelf already? We have our library already built for the pick and place machine. Where we don't have to worry about overages and reeling fees and stuff like that. So
it's great.
Yeah, well, in typical Amtech fashion, you guys are ahead of the curve, staying ahead of schedule. So coming into the next question, I'll let you go first, and then we'll come here, and then we'll finish with you. With these challenges in mind, with AI and different investments, like how are you leveraging automation and process optimization to really combat those challenges?
I mean, I think every era has a way to improve efficiency. If we talk about 20 years ago, we were talking. The keynote speaker yesterday was talking about AI and how they did accounting in books with pencils. Everything. I think every era has its differentiator and something that optimizes the processes even further. The role of leadership is to distill what's out there and actually pick the winning horse and implement that at your facility. There's a million things out there at any given time that we need to pick and sort through to see what could potentially benefit our organizations. And there's so much out there right now. I mean, there's so much out there right now that it's really tough to really decide what we're going to implement right now because there's so many options. AI and IoT has opened up so many options for us. And then we also have to balance that with adoption of our organization as well. How much of a growth mindset? How willing are people to try something new? The whole idea is like we've just done it that way, so we're just going to continue to do it that way. That world cannot exist even more now. Before it was like maybe you can get away with it for 5 years, but 5 years, the delta and improvement that can happen in 5 years is now happening in 6 months or less. So we have to be able to develop that staff and develop that mindset to be able to implement these new things and then pivot and change the way that we run our organizations.
Yeah, that was a brilliant answer. RBB?
Yeah. Well, I would say, that's really why we're here, right? Is to look at what the next big thing is and see how we can incorporate it into our business. It's kind of like, we see all different types of things here, and it's really, like Jay was saying, we have to pick the best horse that works for us. And kind of, I think the challenge with that, though, is to, get everybody else on board.
Correct.
Get that buy-in.
That is the toughest thing.
Right. And when and that's as leaders, that's what we have to balance, is
Correct.
really picking something that we can get our team members to buy in, but also, moves the company forward.
And along with that is because we are a high mix shop, our team have to learn a lot in a short amount of period. They have to become a jack of all trades. And that is tough to learn because you have to be exposed to so many different use cases. So that goes back into building culture, is we need to get the people that we can invest in a long term, and we have to become organizations. And it goes back to the fundamentals of organizations that people want to work with and stay for the long term.
Yeah, I can't agree with Jay more on that. Just with the variety of jobs that we get and how fast we have to turn them, you have to have some super sharp people in there. But back to AI, I think one of the things that is really important in this industry is that we have some industry-specific AI applications. So AI is very good on these general approaches to things, but in manufacturing, it has to be specific. Like we have to have the exact orientation. We have to have pin 1. We have to have the exact part number, and all those little things. I think we have to sort of tweak the AI outputs to help us with that. We actually process part numbers with AI, and if you look at it compared to sort of a more general large language model engine, they're impressively good for no specific training. but when it comes down to actually classifying and identifying exactly what are you specifying in that text, is that a part number, is that a color specification, is that a tolerance, is it a voltage tolerance? There are certain really specific data points that we found that where we can excel by having really specific training data for what we do on how we work on those things. So I think while AI, it's great in general, we kind of really want to get down to that, like specifically exactly what part did you mean in there. And then there are other things that we have, like, when we find other equivalent parts, it's not just I'm looking for a 50 volt tolerance. So no, like understanding how does voltage tolerance and capacitor actually matter? Because if you specify 25, well, guess what? Your 35 and your 50 and your 100 volt tolerance can all go in there. And these are things that we, in the manufacturing space, can bring to the sort of AI world as we get better at doing our software and our integration with that.
Well, one thing that I want to stress, and I want to make sure that viewers understand, that we asked a question about overcoming challenges with automation and process optimization, and every single one of you touched on personnel, culture, and the people within your business. I think that goes a long ways, because with the whole AI movement, people are sometimes forgetting about the investment you can make back into the people of your company. And that's something that I'm very passionate about, the personal development aspect, because the fastest way to grow your company is to improve the people that are working there. So absolutely. I want to commend you all for bringing that up. But as we move in, we've got to go down Debbie Downer a little bit more. We're going to talk about supply chain disruptions. And this is like probably the biggest hindrance to high mix, low volume manufacturing, because as you mentioned earlier, when your customers come to you, they place that PO, they expect the order to pretty much come before the check clears.
Yep.
So what strategies are you taking, and we'll come down the line this way if you don't mind, to overcome and kind of predictively combat supply chain disruption?
Yeah, it's actually a really interesting question for us, because I only started Flash PCB about 4 years ago, and we've only actually been assembling boards for 18 months here. So we are really new to this industry. Before, I spent about a decade designing hardware, so designed tons of boards, and I was always really frustrated about why did it take so long to get a quote, why can't, just tell me what parts you have, because a lot of times I'll just use those parts. That's the easiest thing for me. And then when COVID hit and I couldn't buy even just a capacitor to save my life, let alone my specific microcontroller, that's where the idea for Flash PCB actually came, was how do we help people build quotes really quickly with the parts that are the easiest for you to supply. So part of what we do is as you upload to our service, we are in real time checking inventory. So before you press order, we know there's inventory for what you've just placed. Now, we've already run into problems where overnight someone buys that out from underneath us. So the next step for us is, of course,
are you bragging or not? I don't know if that was brag. No, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No.
Continue.
How do we get that? So maybe we're placing the order as soon as you place your board order, parts are on their way to us. But it's a huge challenge, and even with all the automation and tools we have, we still face that problem occasionally with our customers. So
I think your approach is really phenomenal. Henry Ford once said, "You can buy any car. I'll build you any color car you want as long as it's black." And I think that's a little bit of the approach that you have, is like we can supply any part as long as it's in our catalog. And I think, anecdotally, if you take that a little bit further, if you want supply chain resiliency, it has to be intentional. Yep. So when you're working with customers who have, a product mix that we can say, okay, we're going to step back. We want to make sure that all the bombs that are out there on your product have common parts, that we can use it in different areas. So when we go to buy, we have more buying power, we have more staging capability, because we know if we buy the inventory and bring it in, we have backups for that, and we can take it from this particular assembly that the demand has gone down on, because the parts are the same, now we can build the other assembly for you. So really, this is not, supply chain resiliency is really a result of great collaboration between your EMS and your customer. That way, we can build that resiliency up intelligently and make sure that when there are supply chain issues, we're safe, or safer than if we wouldn't be. I mean, you're never really, there's always something that happens, but at least we're giving ourselves a fighting chance rather than just going PO to PO or order to order or this part to that part. So we really try to work with our customers to get a good grasp on their entire supply chain, try to normalize it and look at it as a whole aggregate to make sure that we can get more resiliency built in for them.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, for us, I think the supply chain, it really comes down to relationships, right? So your engineers at your firm are building that relationship with your client, so they actually trust them. This part is not available. Like, can you help us out? How about this one, right? So we're, but you have to have that relationship, or they're not going to trust you to do it. So I think that's where it has to start. And you're like Jay was saying, you're always going to have problems, with materials. So I think it's really, having that coordination between what Jay was saying, between the customer and the CM to do it.
I just want to say that the technology that you guys are developing, I hope it becomes ubiquitous and becomes the normal, because what you guys are doing is on the forefront, and a lot of engineers on customer side and engineers on the program managers on the EMS side have that pain point. And I think what you guys are doing, whoever the visionary is and whoever the innovator is, kudos to you guys, because I think you guys are going to be pushing the industry forward, and what you're doing is going to become more normal and make it easier for us to be able to support our customers.
No, appreciate that, Jay. And we see even with Jay, like he was talking to me last night about some of the developments they do internally. So this is it's amazing to see, we're not just newcomers up and doing that, but the guys that have been in it, a great family business that has been doing this for a little while, they're also pushing that forward too. So it's not just the new software folks coming in and disrupting this. This is folks that are in the industry already. So
yeah, absolutely.
So I'm going to come back to, I followed up the last question. We talking about supply chain issues, one of the biggest hurdles, and all of your answers again went back to a relationship base, and that is the reason the three of you are sitting up here, because you take that time. It comes across as that you're going into a customer situation as a partner, right? Because we've all experienced where there's brilliant minds out there, and they can make the most complex, beautiful looking circuit boards, and some of them just don't work because of availability or is too complicated. And you guys taking that approach and sharing your expertise with your customer and letting them know, hey, what have you thought about this instead of this? Because it's going to be easier to produce that board, and that's what is creating success for you. But looking forward, so we've got to get on to the next question here. So we're going to go into looking forward for trends. I mean, high mix, low volume is not for the lighthearted. It's not an industry, as we discussed. I mean, everything's kind of structured against you guys, from the cost of the capital equipment to the way it works. I mean, you guys really have to create that perfect line for your customer, and you have to be very versatile. But looking forward, what other trends are you predicting or already seeing along with the software you're developing to help move the high mix, low volume industry forward?
You want to take it?
Want to go? Where do we go? We go.
We're waiting for your answer.
Yeah.
I mean, the biggest trend, and that's one we capitalize, is it's integration. So in the quoting software, the whole way through integration, so that as you consume parts on your line, it reflects in your inventory, so that no one's trying to buy that same part. And then the biggest trend I also see is sort of customer feedback. So one of the biggest things that we do is we want to incentivize our customers to make decisions that are easier for us. So the way we do that, and everyone else will do it a little bit differently, but we show price changes in real time. So as you change features, things will change price, and we're trying to push people towards the things that are easiest for us. And that, that's sort of as a former engineer, that was my incentive as well, I didn't want to make the most expensive thing in the world. I wanted to make it as cheaply and easy as possible. And the customer really knows what they need. We as manufacturers don't know that. That's really up to them. And so how do we give them that feedback saying, hey, this is difficult. Do you need blind vias in this or not? Here's the added cost, and here's the added lead time. And giving them that feedback as quickly as possible. And that's sort of I think using software to sort of give that feedback as quickly as possible, and incentivize the customer to make a board that's easy for you to manufacture and what meets their needs. Because the biggest need they have is, I need it now to test it.
Yeah.
I need it now to get it to sell it. And the easier it is for us to make, the easier it is for us to meet that actual, the sort of hierarchical, high sort of, and our overarching goal that they have is just I want to deliver product to
Yeah.
my customers.
And I don't think I don't even think it's incentivizing. It's also educating the customer.
Yep.
If you do these technical things, your lead time is going to be longer and your cost is going to be 40% more.
Yep.
Do you really need to do that? And then I think once the customer understands what the ramifications of the different decisions are, they're able to learn, okay, now I'm just going to do it simple.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, absolutely. I would agree. I mean, it's just that, going back to the relationship, right?
Yep.
It's really talking to them and saying, what do you need?
Yeah.
What can we solve for you? And you know what? This is the best way to do it.
Yep.
I think going back is that I think the feedback loop is going to become more and more rapid because there's different points of data that can be collected in the manufacturing shop floor through various different means now, whether it's MES, whether it's IoT, whether it's your equipment information, and then getting a data aggregator to be able to extract intelligence from it is going to be is on the forefront of manufacturing. So even before, you used to think that in a high runner or a high volume world you could do that, but in a high mix world now, we'll be able to get enough data that it can tell us right away in real time what is right and what is wrong. And I think the future is really, really bright. There's some really cool things happening with augmented reality that are phenomenal, that help the high mix type of environment. We were talking about some use cases yesterday, and I think we're on the forefront of it. And luckily I have my peers over here that think in the same direction. So we're really excited to see what the technologies of high mix are going to be out there, and hopefully with his technology, his innovation, and some other innovations that are happening, the high mix world will become that much easier for everybody.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, the future, with AI and everything, it's really helping us.
Yeah.
It's helping us to make those decisions and really have that relationship with our customer.
Correct.
But it helps us do that.
And another thing is, like, once the problems are solved, it's still a relationship business.
Yeah.
So like we still need to go back, and so then if everybody has all the tools to solve all the problems, what's the differentiator then?
Right.
Yeah.
It comes back to relationships and
Yeah.
culture.
Yeah,
Exactly.
does the customer trust you?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, a key point you all touch on is the word transparency.
Yeah.
And I think it's okay. Sometimes when you get into that sales, customer versus manufacturer world, the dynamic can kind of become like hidden. Like, just show the pricing, show what's happening, let them know, like, hey, this part is not in.
Yeah.
It's better for you to build the board this way. And that transparency and being open is what is going to keep them around longer. And I think you guys all stress that point very, very good. But I want to remind everyone that we are up here because you guys have been appointed by a few important people as the experts of high mix, low volume manufacturing. So what is one piece of advice, we'll start here and go down, that you would give to anyone that is crazy enough to think of getting into this business?
I would say...
No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. I would say be flexible, right? Be open-minded, and you don't have all the answers,
Yeah.
And I think, just thinking outside the box and really being creative and providing solutions for your customers. But also, at the same time, I think you really have to be flexible and say, right, how are we going to make this work?
I think, when it comes down to it, you have to be a student of the industry and student of your customers. And unless you have that mindset that I am going to become, this is going to be a learning process for me and a learning journey for me, don't go into the high mix, because you are going to learn more than you probably would go into in a high volume environment. So if you're going to step into it and think you're going to make gajillions of dollars and not have to learn on a daily basis, don't do it. So if you love learning and you love challenges, I think you can do great in it. And if you don't, then prepare yourself for that.
Wow.
So really a growth, having a growth mindset.
Yeah.
Well said.
I can't agree with Jay more. Like, the industry is always evolving, so learning what the newest thing that we're doing, like always trying to be on the cutting edge with our customers, and then, or with our, with the equipment and the techniques we're using, and then, like, exactly like Jay said, our customers are really smart. Like, in sort of the low volume world, we're dealing with a lot of people that design the board. We're dealing with people that might be doing the actual testing of it. Our customers know what they're talking about, and we can learn a lot from them.
Yeah.
I like that growth mindset.
Yeah.
That's really good.
Well, gentlemen, I think you guys did a wonderful job. I appreciate you allowing us to put you on the hot seat. It's good to promote your business, but sometimes it can be intimidating getting up here with your peers. But that collaborative mindset that you have is really going to help move this industry forward. It's these type of discussions, putting the spotlight on and letting people know that we're going to force the industry to go forward. And I think our mindset behind it with what's new in electronics is this industry has been crippled over years of trying to keep that information in. Like everyone has to hold their secrets. And what we're learning is the more information we share, even if we're giving it away for free, the faster the industry moves forward, and it helps the customer, and it comes back twofold. So before we wrap up and say goodbye, if you could just say your name and your company again one more time, maybe a website, so that we can promote you a little better.
Yep. My name is Tom Castner. I'm with Flash PCB. We're in Philadelphia. Go to flashpcb.com, upload a board, we'll give you a quote within a few minutes.
Jay Patel from Amtech. We're outside of Detroit. Website is buildamtech.com. And if you guys have any questions or any programs or opportunities or just want to talk shop, just feel free to reach out.
I'm Jeff Schartiger from RBB Systems. Our website is rbbsystems.com, and we're in Northeast Ohio, so give us a call.
Gentlemen, thank you so much, and thank you for watching What's New in Electronics.